Now that we went over the products and also the brushes, let's go ahead and jump into my segment where I show you how I use these products, and I hope this is really helpful for those who've never tried powder-based makeup before, or those who are interested, or those who have no idea. But yeah, so let's just jump into that. Hey guys, so I'm just gonna quickly go over how I use this product. It's gonna be a quick teach. I'll just summarize what I do and then show you guys. But basically, I do use the Bare Minerals matte first, and the max total of layers that I do use is about 3 to 4 layers. I don't go over than that because then it'll just feel kind of dry on my skin, and typically I do work in thin layers first and try to distribute it along my face just so that I can get even coverage and one part doesn't look more colored or discolored than the other. And I do work in segments of my face, so I do this this half and this half, and then I work on my chin, nose, and then my forehead. So that's kind of how I do that. And each time I do grab product, I do tap out that excess into the lid here because I do pour the product into the lid, so it's easier to dip my brush in there and try to distribute it on my face. But you always want to tap out the excess because you don't want to have a lot of powder on that brush and just sticking that on your face. It just looks like a hot mess if you do that. So I always tap out the excess, and the same goes for the mineral veil. Now the mineral veil, typically you only need 1 layer, but the foundation is the one where you kind of work a lot with. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and say that each layer that I do, so the first layer I use circular motions. They're gonna be wide circular motions. And then when I get to the second layer, I start to minimize my range of motion, more focusing on parts that do need to be covered. And then by the time I get to my third or fourth layer, the range of motion for the circular motion is a lot smaller, and sometimes I even kind of press the brush on that area that needs more coverage. It's more towards the center of my face. Real quick, you always want to start with a clean base. So you want to start with a freshly cleansed base, and you want to use kind of hydrating products before you apply this on, and of course primer. So that being said, I'll just go ahead and show you guys. So of course you want to pour out the powder into your lid here and use the lid to grab the product. And then real quick, I do use this buffer brush, and I do all angles of this brush just so I can get a lot of powder on there. Then I tap out the excess and then just work in large circular motions in segments of my face. So that's it for the Bare Minerals The Matte Foundation. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the mineral veil now. I use this large powdery brush. I basically do the same thing with the buffer brush, and I make sure all parts of this brush is covered with the powder, tap out the excess, and you do sweeping motions, or I do sweeping motions. And I use one side of the brush to do one side of the face, and rotate it just slightly on the side. So this part is a little bit flatter, so then when I get to this side, I do the chin, then I rotate it again to the other flat-ish side, and then I just sweep it along these cheeks, and then I just, whatever's left over, I bring it on around my nose, and then bring it up towards my forehead, and sweep along my forehead. And that's just it. That's all I do for the Bare Minerals Matte Foundation with the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. Let's just go ahead and go on to my first impression of this product. Okay, so it's been about a little over half an hour since I applied the Bare Minerals powder foundation and plus the mineral veil. And sorry, I can't really place this camera anywhere in my car. There's like nowhere to place this camera or anything at all in this car. But so you guys, I don't know if you can see that, but the coverage on this foundation is not that great, honestly, alone. I highly recommend using concealer or something along those lines because the coverage to me, like, it's just not that great. And the more you pack it on, the more dry it'll feel because this is a matte formula. It's not the original. So that's how I feel about that. So I'm not very too excited about the coverage of this foundation. But so far, the foundation is pretty much lightweight. My skin kind of does feel it right now because it's been so long since I used a powder foundation. But it's not too irritating. I feel like I'll probably get used to it and no problem. Well, I think it's because I try to pack on, like, I didn't pack it on, but I kind of tried to get as much coverage as I can with this foundation. So I think that's probably why it feels kind of weird. But honestly, I do like the powder because I feel like there's not really transfer happening going on with the powder as opposed to liquid foundation. But I just wish the coverage was much better, honestly. So far, it's very natural. It doesn't look cakey or powdery, honestly. That is if you are to work in layers. If you were to pack it on, then it's gonna look powdery. But because I worked in layers, little itty, like thin layers, it looks more natural. So of course, I'm going to check back with you guys at the end of the day to see what I think about this so far. Hey, coming at you guys at my final check of the day at the end of the day. I basically wore the Bare Minerals, the powder foundation in the matte formula and the Bare Minerals mineral veil together for about 7-8 hours now. And around the 4-hour mark, I did notice some slight shine going on in my face, mainly my nose. Anywhere else wasn't that bad or noticeable, and it's been 7 or 8 hours now, and as you can see, it's still pretty matte, not that shiny, it's actually not that shiny at all after this many hours of wearing it. And I did pair it with my Smashbox, so my Smashbox isn't that very matte or oil control anyways, so that I think this is pretty impressive. In terms of the coverage, I still wish it was better, but if you just knock out the coverage, you're not too concerned with the coverage, or you use like an amazing concealer or whatever, this product plus the mineral veil is actually, honestly, in my opinion, perfect. It's pretty lightweight. After a couple minutes of wearing it, I didn't feel it on my face anymore. It's not heavy. It doesn't feel like it's clogging my pores. It doesn't transfer that much. Just a little sticky at this point, but like it's not that sticky. But I think these two products together are actually a pretty good pair. I actually really like it. Besides the coverage is really good. So in my opinion, for my first opinion, I think it's pretty much perfect minus the coverage. But of course, I'm gonna keep wearing the two for 2 weeks and we'll see if my impression of it is still good, bad, we'll see. Alright, and welcome back to present time, where it's about a month later, or a little bit over a month later, since I first tried these two products. And basically, we're just gonna jump right into the pros of the product. Now, one of the pros I want to state, sorry if I'm looking down, I just have my notes right here. So one of the things I want to note is that the coverage is actually pretty decent. I think even without concealer, if you can see, I'm not even wearing concealer today, and I'm wearing the powder or the products right now. I think it does a really good job with covering your pigmentation, hyperpigmentations. I think it does a great job at covering any crevices or acne scarring or acne in general. I don't think it's too bad. So I would like to say that the coverage on this product is medium to pretty good. So then this product is also very long lasting. These two products together, I do use them together as a couple, so on its own, I'm not sure. I never used it on its own. I like it together, but it is very long lasting. I do wear it for 13 hours or so, and I noticed that my foundation doesn't really shift at all. It doesn't move around, doesn't shift. That's perfect, because I do wear my makeup for hours and hours all day without even doing any touch-ups, so that's a really good thing for me. And anyone out there that also is kind of runs through their makeup like I do. Another thing is that the transfer for these products are the most minimal transfers I've ever had experienced, and when you first apply it, it's powder, it hardly ever transfers. The only time it transfers the most is when it gets super oily, but even then it's more like your oil is transferring instead of the actual product. But just a heads up on that. Of course, since it's matte, we do want to talk about the oil control. I think the oil control on this product is pretty darn good. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I think it's really good. And I do live in Texas. It's about spring, and so it does get really humid and hot here. So in those kind of temperatures, I have used the products with these two primers simultaneously, just so I can kind of get a good idea of how well it holds up depending on the primers. And so let's just talk about the Innisfree No Sebum Blur Primer first. And if you've ever watched my older video about this, you'd know I do really like this primer. I think it does a really good job at maintaining my oil and sebum control. But anyways, in a humid temperature around, I think, 3.5 hours, I start to see some shine. It's kind of like a dull shine, and it's just around my nose. Other than that, it's not that big of a deal. When it reaches around 4 hours to 4.5 hours, that's when I start noticing shine a little bit more. But once again, the shine on my nose starts to illuminate more. But then areas around my face, it's starting to shine dully. So yeah. Now with the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer, I noticed that when I use this in humid hot weather, around 2 hours I start to see some dull shine on my nose, and then around 3 hours I start to see some more shine around my face, and then around about 4 hours the shine on my face starts to get really oily and shiny. So the control on this is still not as good as this, but I mean, gotta keep in mind with the primers. And I don't know how oil control it is without the primers. I'm sorry, I just have to use primer when I use anything like foundation or BB cushions, just so I can hold my makeup longer, just because I go out early in the morning and I come back pretty late. But anyways, yeah, so just something you want to keep in mind. Even if it's matte or whatever, I still would say try to find a primer that is in oil control kind of primer. Anyway, so the oil control is not too bad. I would say it's pretty average compared to all the other skin products that I've tried. Okay, let's talk about the finish of both the products here. The finish of these products are actually really natural. I think it's the most natural finish I've ever gotten from any kind of foundation or BB cushion or whatever. It's really matte finish as well. So if you're looking for a matte finish, there you go. I think it's flawless. It's so pretty. It's beautiful. It's natural. Matte. That's all I can say about that. It's also really lightweight as well, so it doesn't really feel too heavy on the pores. I think it also depends on how many layers you're stacking on as well. But for me, 3 layers or 4 layers, it's still pretty lightweight. It's not too bad. Another thing is, I think it's good for the skin. It hasn't broken me out at all using this. I haven't broken out from the product due to the product. Most of my breakouts are hormonal or, once again, poor judgment or poor decisions on my behalf. But product wise, this has not broken me out, and if anything, I feel like it's kept my acne at bay. I also really love how the mineral veil is tinted and it's pink. I like that it's tinted. I think it does an amazing job at kind of setting my powder as well. Because this has like a yellow undertone, if you put too much, you can look really yellow or really orange, and I just feel like this mineral veil kind of balances that out for me, because I am kind of yellow, but I do have like a pinkish tone underneath as well. I think that's just how I think or view myself as, but I think it does a really good job with kind of toning out that orange or yellow if you do too much. But of course, you gotta work in thin layers, don't overdo it. But I also really love not only that it's tinted, that it actually kind of blurs everything out. It ties everything together. It just, basically, I think the setting powder is amazing, and it makes everything just melt together basically. And another thing is that they have, I think, 20 skin tones. They have a large variety selection, so for anyone who has been looking for some kind of foundation, I want to recommend this if you can't use Asian or Korean or whatever based products solely because of the limited range. I think that Bare Minerals has a fair range, but of course I don't think it has like more darker skin tones. I think it has pretty decent amount, but I don't think it's like as perfect as maybe some other brands in the variety of skin tones, but I think it's way better than Korean or Asian products in skin tone wise. I also think that this product is waterproof or sweatproof as well. I don't know if they talk about this being that, but I think its waterproofness is pretty good, not too bad. I did exercise or go running with those products on my face and it didn't really run off my face that much, so I think it's pretty waterproof as well, or sweatproof as well. So another thing you want to note, especially if you're living in hot and humid weather. Now that we talked about the pros, let's go ahead and move on over to the cons. And the number one con that I want to mention, which is the number one thing that bothers me the most, is that because it's a powder, it is really messy. And I don't know if other people who've tried this product or used this product think the same way I do, but I think this is really messy, and maybe it's just me, but I'm really clumsy, so I get the product all over the floor. But I have hardwood floor, so it's not a huge deal, but it is messy. Another con is that because it's powdered based, I actually highly only recommend this for people with combination or oily skin. I don't really want to recommend it for people that have normal or dry skin. I highly don't recommend it for those who have dry skin, solely because it is a powder. It really does dry out your face, so it's not a really good thing to do or have. But for those who have dry skin or normal skin who still want to give this product a try, I would say 100% have a really hydrating and moisturized base. So for toners or essence or lotions or sunscreen, make sure it's number one in moisturizing and hydration for your skin, and then apply these products on. It really will dry out your skin. Even with my oily skin, sometimes if I use a little bit more powder than normal, it really does dry out my skin and it just feels really uncomfortable. And then I do want to say, for those who maybe don't have too much hydrating products, maybe try to invest in a mist that you can, or a setting mist that you can spray over your face after you apply the Bare Mineral products on your face. I just think this is more for oily people, honestly. Powders in general, because it's just so dry. That's all I can think of for the pros and cons. So my final verdict for this product is I actually really do recommend this product. All the stuff that it stated where it improves the skin and whatnot, I don't know if it really minimizes pores, but honestly, in my opinion, when I do use this product, my pores don't look as large. So I kind of think it's okay on that department, but I 100% isn't not really sure that if it really does minimize your pore. I really think it does a lot for the skin, so I think it's really beneficial for your skin. If you have really sensitive skin to acne, I would recommend you to try this out. Just drop the liquid foundation or the BB cushion for now and just try this out. It will really soothe your skin, and once your skin is soothed, maybe go back to the BB cushion or liquid foundation. But I really highly recommend these products. I really wish that it would be great for normal or dry skin people, but once again, I don't recommend it, but I kind of do recommend it for those. Just use a very hydrating, moisturizing base when using this product. And yeah, and if you could, I would say invest a little bit for both of these, because I think the Bare Minerals foundation and the Mineral Veil works spectacular together. I think it's a really great team, and I just think it just amazingly ties everything together. So I would say invest a little bit on both of these. It's a really good done deal. Alright, so that's about it for this video. I'm gonna wrap it up here. If you do have any questions, if there's anything I left out, please leave it in the comment section down below. I will try my best to answer all your questions. And if you did find this video very helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!